to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. Hope everybody's staying safe out there, and I just want to continue to say thank you for all your guys' support, throughout this tough time, and thank you for continuing to watch the channel and continue to give me feedback regarding the New York Giants. And I just want to also let you guys know I have another video up after this. In addition to that, I had a writer from G-Man HQ reach out to me, wanted to come on the channel, talk about a recent article that he wrote, talking about some late-round draft prospects that he thinks may fit the New York Giants. So I'm going to have a interview there as well that I should have up probably around 6:30, 7 o'clock. In addition to that, I will be live tonight for a Q&A. So just want to get that out of the way and wanted to really break down some of the quotes by Joe Judge. Now, like I said when I broke down Gettleman's quotes, I think yesterday or the day before, whatever it was, I'm not going to read too much into this, right? They're putting on their poker face, as they should. We should not know what they're going to do before the draft, but some of the things he had to say definitely hit home and at least hinted at where I think they could be going in the draft. And I kind of changed my mind daily with this, and I've kind of thrown my hands up in the air, and I'm just saying, let's wait until the draft. Obviously, I'm going to report on rumors because it's fun to speculate, but I'm not going to have a set opinion until after I hear the name called on draft night. The Giants obviously have two major needs. It's a linebacker that could cover. It's an offensive tackle. They also have a lot of other major needs, but where they're picking, those are the only two realistic spots I personally think the Giants will go. And based on a lot of the things that Judge had to say today, Simmons may very well be the guy. But like I said, can't read too much into it. But let's take a look at some of the quotes of what Judge had to say regarding the New York Giants. First quote I wanted to pull up this from Dan Salamone, who does a great job on Twitter pulling up these quotes whenever he has these press conferences or whatever you wanted to call this, where he talked to the media from his basement for 24 minutes, but he gets the quotes out right away. And this is the first one from Dan. Coach Judge said the advantage goes to whoever is best prepared. Everybody has changes this offseason. And he's basically saying, no excuses, guys. I'm not making any excuses. I don't care that I'm a new head coach. I don't care that we have a lot of player turnover, I have a lot of new coaches to the staff in general. We're going to put in that work. Everybody has to adapt to these changes, and we're going to make sure we've got a leg up on the rest of the competition. And there's another interesting quote much later on where I think the Giants actually really might have a big advantage compared to other teams, and I'll explain why when I get to the quote. Next quote we're going to pull up. Coach Judge said you always take the best player available in the draft because of long-term upside. There's no short-term fix. No one is a finished product, and I completely agree with that. You always want to think long-term. You always want to think who's going to have the biggest influence on your team, and obviously best player available more often than not is the way to go. Of course, when you're talking with a quarterback, you can't really argue that, right? Quarterback's the most important position. That's why generally teams reach on quarterbacks. Like last year, for example, I don't think most fans would argue that in terms of best player, Josh Allen was probably the best player available, and I think that's why Gettleman expressed pretty recently that he was killing himself that he couldn't get Allen because he knew he needed to take a quarterback with Daniel Jones, and that may hint to the fact that they may be going defense on draft night in the first round this year, or at least that's what some people may think. Or you could argue because they took Jones, they may be going with the guy that's going to protect him. It's definitely a strong argument on both sides, of this. But we're gonna have to wait and see how it all plays out. But he's saying right there they're going best player available, and if you listen to most analysts, where the Giants are picking, if Okuda's off the board, I guess you could definitely argue Okuda could be the best player available. But if it's chalk, if it's Burrow, Young, Okuda, most people would say that the best player available would be Isaiah Simmons. But what most people think doesn't necessarily mean that's what Joe Judge and Dave Gettleman think, which is why we got to wait until draft night. Next thing we're going to pull up. Coach Judge said the biggest adjustment is to make sure players can physically prepare themselves to play aggressively and safely once they return, whenever that is. And that, to me, is such an underrated challenge this offseason because it's not the same thing. You have the players right now, they're not in the facility. They cannot be there. They cannot train with the team. You're probably not going to have mandatory mini camps and OTAs and things like that. Everything's going to be getting backed up. Everything's going to be, condensed at the start of the season. And the players are going to have to be diligent. They're going to have to be responsible. They're going to have to make sure they stay in shape. And Joe Judge is going to have to make sure he stays on top of them. And knowing Joe Judge and some of the things I've read and heard, I think he will. Next thing we're going to pull up is this. Coach Judge said you evaluate draft prospects not for what they have done in the past, but what they can do in the future. This to me is a very telling quote as to what they might be doing in the draft, or at least where they, okay, so let's look at the offensive tackle, for example. When you look at any film analysis, you listen to most scouts, most of them would tell you that Jedrick Wills and Andrew Thomas are more advanced technically, things like that, and are safer picks than guys like Jedrick Wills and Mekhi Becton. Tristan Wirfs, rather, and Mekhi Becton. And what Judge is saying here is we're not looking for the safest guy. We're not looking for the most technically skilled guy now. We're looking for the guy that has the best future potential. And you could certainly argue, based on their athletic ability, Tristan Wirfs and Mekhi Becton, because of his size and, how he can move for a man of his size, with the proper coaching, could be better prospects than the other two. So, to me, that kind of leans more towards guys like Tristan Wirfs and Mekhi Becton as opposed to Andrew Thomas and Jedrick Wills. Now, Jedrick Wills, of course, you got the connection there with Alabama, so we're not going to know. But some interesting stuff there. And, of course, Isaiah Simmons as well could be included in that quote. Next thing. The expectation is to come to work every day with a relentless effort and attitude and help improve this team. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. That's basically what Judge has said from the start. He expects his players to put their hard hat on every day, just like him, and to put in just as much work as he does. DeAndre Baker, you better be listening. Next quote. This is a good one. Coach Judge on positional value in the draft. I think it only matters in how they fit in your system and can expand your system. He has that everybody has to have versatility. Now, of course, positional value, right, in the draft. Usually, if you look at the top of draft boards, defensive end, quarterback usually go at the top. They've made up, I think, 50% of the top 5 picks over the last 10 drafts. But he's basically saying here, I think it's more to do with how they fit your team, how they fit your system, and how, and if they could bring versatility. Well, the word versatility, if I'm being completely honest, and I said this after Joe Judge's first press conference when he said that word like 5 times, that Isaiah Simmons is the perfect fit for what he's looking to do, at least on the defensive side of the football. Makes me think that Simmons could very much be in play. Let's put it that way. In terms of the offensive line, again, I think Tristan Wirfs is probably the most versatile. A lot of people think he played guard. A lot of people think he played tackle. Will's right tackle. A lot of people think he move over to the left side. So maybe those are the two most versatile there. But based on these quotes, and like I said, don't read too much into it, I'm leaning Simmons, and if they're going offensive line, I'm leaning Wirfs. Now, of course, they could trade down, which is when the best player available completely changes. And we know the Giants, according to a lot of things we've read, have certainly not ruled that out as well. Next thing we're going to pull up. Coach Judge said previous relationships with free agents doesn't mean they will get a leg up on anyone else or special treatment. And this, again, has been consistent from Judge. He's been asked about Daniel Jones. He's been asked about Saquon Barkley. He will not commit to to that they're going to be starting on draft night, on day one for the New York Giants. Now, anybody with a brain knows they're going to be. They're the future of the franchise, and anybody with a brain knows that Blake Martinez and Bradbury are going to be starting. They brought these players in for a reason. They paid them a lot of money for a reason. They're going to be starting, but I like the consistent approach by Judge, trying to promote competition, trying to put nobody above anybody else. He wants a team that's willing to fight as a unit together. One team that I think about, and it's the New England Patriots, but it's before Joe Judge got there. I remember as a kid, I think I was 15 years old, watching the Super Bowl between the Rams and the Patriots were the first team ever, at least to my knowledge, that came out as a team. And I remember everybody made a big deal about that when they did the player introductions. That's what Judge is trying to institute with the New York Giants. He doesn't want superstars. He wants a team. He wants people to fight together, and I think he's bringing that over from the Patriots and what he learned at Alabama. And then finally, this is the last quote from Salomon. Coach Judge on the advantage of having former college coaches on the staff. It's been a great asset for us, he said. While they may not have coach prospects directly, they have recruited some of them and done the homework on them. And that is a huge advantage for the New York Giants when you really think about it. A lot of the coaches on the Giants coaching staff are directly from the college ranks, at least half of them. I think even Dooley was just came from college, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, you got Coach Chaos. You've got Kevin Sherr, the linebackers coach. You got Burns, the running back coach from Alabama. And a number of others. They got the kid from Marshall. He's brought in a lot of college coaches, and this is a great point and a huge advantage for the New York Giants. These guys have recruited these prospects. They've coached against these prospects. They've coached some of these prospects. And it's all about familiarity as well. And, you saw that theme in free agency. I think you're going to continue to see that theme in the draft. I think you're going to see players that they've coached against or players that they've actually coached being drafted on this football team, especially in the later rounds. But the fact that these coaches have recruited these players, I think is a huge advantage for the New York Giants, especially in a year where it's not the traditional evaluation process, where you have pro days, where you have all the, it's been cut short. And the Giants actually may have a leg up on a lot of the competition. But, that's all I had to say. So I just wanted to break down all the quotes. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.